أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. Assalamu alaikum. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger and servant. I seek refuge in Allah from the cursed devil, the despised and rejected, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. This khutbah would be followed up from last week's khutbah from the study guides. And the name of this, we're going to call it the 4 great impediments to self-development. And I would like to take some readings from the Quran to support the topic. We'll be reading from Surah 3, Chapter 3, Section 1, the rules of interpretation, and Surah 13, Section 1, the truth of revelation, and Section 2, the falls and rise of nations. So, when we look at the 4 great impediments to self-development, they are racism, sexism, nationalism, and materialism. Those are the 4 great impediments that stop us from improving as human beings. And we're going to see how Allah deals with that so we can have self-improvement. When we look at Surah 2, the 138th verse, it say, we take Allah color, and who is better than Allah at coloring? And we are his worshipers. So when you look at that verse, when it talks about coloring, it's really referring The religion of Islam is called Allah coloring because God is utmost in the Muslim idea and because his view are broad as humanity. The coloring. Who is best at coloring besides Allah? He's the best at coloring. So that deals with one of the impediments of man to self-improvement. And when we look at Surah 10, 35 and 36, it says Allah guides to the truth. Is he then who guides to the truth more worthy to be followed, or is he who finds not the way unless he is guided? The matter with you, how do you judge? And most of them was all but continue. Surely continue is evil out against the truth. Truly, Allah is the knower of what they do. So when we look at that surah, that verse, it says that Allah guides to the truth who he wishes to guide to the truth. And we're still dealing with the four great impediments to self-development. And I want to read one more verse, one more surah, Surah 35, 27 and 28. And that reads, Surah 35, 27 and 28. Seest thou not that Allah sends down water from the clouds, then we bring forth therewithin fruits of various hues. And in the mountains are stakes, white and red and various hues, as intensely black. And of men and beasts and cattle, there are various colors. Likewise, those of his servants, only who are possessed of knowledge fear Allah. Surely Allah is mighty and forgiving. So we see in the Quran where it deals with the four impediments of men, the four great impediments. Allah discusses these impediments in the Quran. So what I want to deal with now, I've been taking those verses from the Holy Quran. I want to deal with the last sermon of the prophet. And I think it can help us see the impediments that keep us from self-development. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he gave this last sermon to the people in his time, but how does it apply to the people in our time? It says, the prophet says, O people, leave me in attentive ear, for I know not whether after this year I should ever be amongst you again. Therefore, listen to what I'm saying to you very carefully, and take these words to those who could not be present here today. O people, just as you regard this month, this day, this city as sacred, so regard the life and the property of every Muslim as a sacred trust. Return goods entrusted to you to their rightful owner. Hurt no one so that no one may hurt you. Remember that you will indeed meet your Lord, and that he will Reckon your deeds. Allah has forbidden you to take usury, interest, when they talk about usury in the Quran. He has forbidden us to take usury or interest. Therefore, all interest obligated should be henceforth be waived. Your capital, however, is yours to keep. You will neither um, you will neither, and if nor suffer inadequacy. Allah has judged that there should be no interest, and that the interest due he's referring to his uncle, the prophet uncle, Abbas ibn Muttalib, henceforth will be waived. And it continues, beware of Satan, for the safety of your religion, he has lost all hope that he will ever be able to lead you astray in big things. So beware of the following in small things. O people, it is true you have certain with regards to your woman, certain rights in regards to your woman, but they also have rights over you. Remember that you have taken them as your wives only under Allah's trust and with his permission. If they abide by your right, then to them belongs the right to be fed and clothed in kindness. Do treat your woman well and be kind to them, for they are your partners and committed helpers. And it is your right that they do not make friends with anyone of whom you do not approve, as well as never to be in chase. O people, listen to me earnestly. Worship Allah. Say your 5 daily prayers, fast during the month of Ramadan, and give wealth in zakat. Perform Hajj if you can afford it. All mankind is from Adam and Eve. The Arab has no superiority over the non-Arab, and the non-Arab has no superiority over the Arab. Also, the white has no superiority over the blacks, nor does the black have any superiority over the whites, except in taqwa, and good actions. Lean that over Muslims is a brother to every Muslim, and that Muslim constitute one brotherhood. Nothing should be legit to a Muslim which belongs to a fellow Muslim unless it was given freely and willingly. Do not therefore do injustice to yourselves. Remember, one day you will appear before Allah and answer your deeds. So be aware, do not stray from the path of righteousness after I am gone. O people, no prophet or apostle will come after, and no new faith will be born. Reasons will, therefore, people, and understand the words which I have conveyed to you. I leave behind 2 things, the Quran and my example, the Sunnah. If you follow these, you will never go astray. All those who listen to me should pass on my words to others, and those to others again. And may the last ones understand my words better than those who listen to me directly. Be my witness, O Allah, that I have conveyed your message to the people. So when we listen to the prophet's last sermon. He covers a variety of things in his last sermon to look for after he's gone. He's telling the people to listen to what I'm saying because it'll take you through the hard times, the dark times. After I'm long gone, the prophet is saying, peace and blessings be upon you. He talks about the masjid been held as sacred. And you're not even holding your own brother as sacred. He said, be aware of that. You talk about a sacred city in this life. But he says the property of every Muslim is as a sacred trust. Your body, your mind is sacred to Allah. Not this the masjid or the mosque that is sacred, but you that you think the least of, he said, is sacred. Your brother, who you think the least of, is sacred. We're going to cover this in the second part, in the community part. And he says, don't take on interest. In this world, we're surrounded by banks and banking institutions. That's law in their world to take interest. But he said, don't take on interest. Does he saying that because he just hate the bankers? But no, when you take interest from your brother, it causes this hardship. It causes argument. So he said, you deserve what you pay, what you given, take that back, but don't take extra. Don't be usury as described as interest. Then he goes on to talk about religion. And do not stray away from the small things. He said that the devil don't concentrate on the big things, but the small things that we barely see, the 5 prayers that no one sees but you. We start slacking on those. We start slacking on our diet. He said, be aware of the following small things that leads you astray, or they say that leads you off the mustaqim, the right path. Then he goes on and says, dealing with the woman and her rights. He says, by Allah's permission, he don't put the woman lowly down. He said the woman has rights too. She's not your slave or nothing like that. The ones out in the listening audience might have that concept of Islam, but we listening to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, Muhammad, and he talks about how to treat the woman with equality and justice. He's given justice to the whole world. He said, be kind to your wives. Don't be mean-spirited to them. And don't use Islam as a weapon to put them as second-class citizens, because that's not what the Holy Quran teaches. And he said, oh, people, talking about the 5 pillars, worship Allah, Allah only, and say your 5 daily prayers, fast during the month of Ramadan, and give in zakat and perform hajj if you can afford to do it. So he's a merciful God. He didn't say perform, you gotta perform hajj. He said if you can afford to do it, you can perform hajj. So then he goes on and talk about all mankind is from Adam and Eve. We'll deal with that at a later time, but all mankind is from Adam and Eve. They descendants from Adam and Eve. And he's saying this is dealing with the racism that we're talking about in the four impediments. He said the, the Arab has no superiority over the non-Arab. And then he said the white has no superiority over the black. None of the black has any superiority over the white. Why did he have to mention that? Why did that even come up in the prophet conversation, peace and blessings be upon him, if it was no racism? If it was no racism, he wouldn't even have to bring it up. So it had to be something that he saw in the hearts of the people that he had to leave a reminder of how they should conduct themselves. See, your skin color don't give you superiority over another skin color. This on the basis, on the I would say the strength. This on the strength, you want to take superiority over another brother. Based on your color, I'm lighter than him, or I'm darker than him. But we say, well, that don't exist in Islam. But why did the prophet bring it up if it don't exist? He had a companion named Bilal. And he asked the people to listen to him and follow him as he called the prayer more beautiful than he ever heard before. But was Bilal only good for calling the prayer? And that's it? He had to be a man of greatness to hang around the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. He just went there just to call the prayer, and that was it. Go home, Bilal. No. I talked to some that has visited that part of the world, and they say that Bilal grave is uncapped. What a shame. What a shame. See, this is the part that we don't want to talk about. We want to hide that behind our back. And we want to throw the stone with the other hand. The stone is Islam, but we want to hide that part of Islam. But we throw the stone as we righteous. And it impedes us and stop us from improving. Because we're not dealing with what needs to be dealt with. So when you're dealing with these four impediments of man, as we talked about earlier, racism, sexism, nationalism, he dealt with all that in his last sermon. And materialism, he dealt with interests. He dealt with racism. He dealt with sexism with the woman, treating the woman less than what she really is. She is the mother of civilization. You don't know nothing about Allah until she introduced you to Allah. And you don't respect her? What a shame. But these are the impediments that stop our development. We become as children. We never grow up because we're still dealing with these four impediments that stop our development. Because we are all wrapped up in that we better than the next man. That's why he talked about brotherhood. He said the whole Muslim family is your brotherhood. To come together as one brotherhood, the prophet wanted. Peace and blessings be upon him. He wanted to see the whole brotherhood, the whole sisterhood come together as one nation. A nation of peace. Are we there yet? No, we're not, because we're still dealing with these issues within our own circle, within our own religion called Islam. But if we look at it for what it is, and we look at the sermon of the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, you will get something out of it that will make you better. It will make you better just reading the last sermon and not just reading it and putting it on the shelf, but implying it in your everyday life. That you will be a better Muslim, you'll be a better Christian, you'll be a better Hindu, whatever you profess. Everyone needs to read the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, last sermon. Because a lot of us say, well, we pattern our life after the prophet. We call it the Sunnah. Are you really? Are you really patterning your life after Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him? Because you're reading what he did and how he conducted himself, but the people are not attracted to you. They unattracted to you, but you said that you pattern your life. You dedicate your life to the way he lived his life. You know how you, if you're doing that or not, you'll be attracted to the people. Because the people will want to know, who is that that's so kind, that treats his woman kind? Who is that that believes in the brotherhood? Who is that that lends money and don't ask for extra back? Who is that that believes in God so strongly that you don't see any nationalism? He don't treat the Arab better than the non-Arab. You'll be an attractive force wherever you go. The people will want to know, who is that person that we dealt with in other khutbahs, the vicegerent of Allah. Every time the people see you, they should see some of the attributes of Allah himself in you. So we name ourselves after the attributes. Hakeem, Bilal, we take on these holy names, and we don't mature to that name because of these impediments. We don't develop, we don't improve our life, so we manifest ourselves into those names that we took it on. One name, Muhammad, one worthy of praise, one praiseworthy. How do you get there? You get there by getting rid of these impediments. The racism, the sexism, the nationalism, the materialism. You get rid of all these impediments, and then someone starts walking in you. The spirit of Allah is seen through you, through these attributes that you name yourself after. So it's not you walking anymore. It's a whole different person walking now. So we want to close out the first part, and then we'll go into community phase. But before I close out the first part, I would like to read a surah out of the Quran. And it goes right along with the Prophet's last sermon. All people I'll read this and then we'll close it out. All praises is due to Allah. We praise Him and we beseech Him for help. And we ask for His protection and we seek refuge in Allah from the mischief of our souls and from the evil of our deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, there is none who can lead him astray. And whom Allah finds in error, there is none to guide him. O Allah, help those who help the religion of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and count us among them. O Allah, disappoint those who try to try to disgrace the religion of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And do not make us of those. So we, in that prayer, we ask Allah to guide us aright and make us amongst the winners in Islam. And Allah would grant our petition if we stay on the mustaqim of the right path of following Him. That'll close out my first part. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to start the second part and tie this in and try to wrap this up and hope that we get something out of it to carry us through the week. When we talk about the community that we live in today, we see some of these same destructive forces of racism, sexism, nationalism, materialism. Those same destructive forces are impediments, destroys the self-development of the humanity, of the human being. It destroys the human in that person, the humanity in that person, because those four impediments has to be dealt with. Racism has to be dealt with. So when you deal with something, you call it out. You call it out for what it is. And that's why a lot of people have problems with the Nation of Islam. Because it calls out the racism and challenging the racism. And a lot of people say, that's not Islam. We don't have racism in Islam. That ain't what the Prophet, peace and blessings, said. He pointed out racism in his last sermon. That's why I read it. So that you can see that he was dealing with it during his time. We dealing with it still today. He talked about sexism, the way we treat our helper. He says, the Prophet, peace and blessings, he said a woman is a helper to you. She's a partner. He went so far as to call her a partner. You in partnership with her. So he says she have rights over you too. You just can't order her around and you get mad when she asks for something. That tears down the fabric of the family. And now the children are looking with confusion. Why mom and daddy argue? Because they're not balanced. They're not balanced in their relationship. The family becomes unbalanced then. Now you start wondering why the community is unbalanced. Because It started with the male and female relationship, the unraveling of that relationship. Now the whole community is unraveling. The, the whole state, the whole nation is unraveling. America is unraveling right before our eyes because the balance is not there. This book, the Holy Quran, it gives us the balance. It gives us adequate knowledge of how to deal with everything that we may run across. Tells you how long to suckle the child. It tells you what to eat, what not to eat. It gives us instructions. And not only that, when I read the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, last sermon, he said, I leave this to you. Why would he have to leave us something? Because he saw that the people still had rebellion in their heart. So when we go out in the community, in our community, don't matter, white, black, it's rebellion there. Although we sit in one of the worst communities in Tampa, Florida, where the average income is $9,000 a year. He said, well, how can a person live off that? It's imbalance. Some racism there, some sexism there, some nationalism there, materialism there. We want rims on our cars. We want to look good. Become materialistic beings instead of human beings. So, how do we correct all these four impediments that man faces that impedes his self-improvement, his self-development? We have to turn. It says, surely I'm turning myself to Allah. We have to be in a constant rotation to the Word of God. Those that's in the listening audience that may be Christian, like I spoke previously, you'll be judged by your book. Those that are Muslim, you'll be judged by the Quran. Those that are Hebrew or Jewish, you'll be judged by the Torah. You'll be judged by your book. And that great judgment day is not just one day. It's a continuum. You're being judged every day. No one gets away. Michael Jackson, our brother, had a song called I'm Looking at the Man in the Mirror, trying to make a change. So every day you get up, you're reminded when you look in the mirror that we need to make a change. Because it takes practice. It talks about that in the Quran, about perfection. There ain't nobody perfect. Nobody perfect. And then what the Quran said. It takes practice. I coach a middle school football team. I said, you want to be perfect? Practice. Constant practice. Get better every day. Get better at what you're doing every day. And then you become what? They call it a Masters. The golf, Tiger Woods, he plays in a tournament called the Masters. Because why? He has perfected his craft. You can't be the perfect being, but you can be perfection at your craft. You can become a servant of Allah. Try to perfect that. Try to perfect being a servant of Allah. How do I do that? Look at the last sermon. He said, make your 5 prayers. Start with that every day. Those of you that's Muslim or Christian, make your prayers. Make your fast. Christians fast. This is Muslim fast. Fast. We talking about getting rid of these 4 great impediments that stop our development, our self-improvement. If you're going to get on that road to improve yourself, well, he gives us an outline of things that we can do to get on that road of self-improvement. So if you're in a community that's not up to par in your eyes, what can you do to make that community better? You can go out and spread the word. Start with that. Start with telling them about the Holy Quran. See, once you make your 5 prayers, that should give you the strength to get up and go to your brother and give him the word. Didn't the prophet, peace and blessings, talk about that in the Quran? About the brotherhood? Well, how is he your brother and you won't share nothing with him? You won't even share a word with him. So he might be out on a bowl of bean soup, a slice of bean pie. He may not get that if you can't even share a word with him. Let's go out in our community and defeat these 4 impediments of self-improvement by giving the word of God, whatever you call him, Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, Jesus, whatever you might call him. Go out in your community with what he has blessed you with and spread that. Don't bury your talent in the ground and be cursed. As our brother Isa, Jesus said, when he talked about the servants, he said one buried his talent. And upon the master return, he thought he was doing the master a favor. How many of us think we're doing Allah a favor by not going to the people? Just think over that. And giving them what is not yours, but only belongs to Allah. That's his word. Giving the people Allah's word and see them rejoicing. That's what our job is today. Give them the word of God. And I think we can defeat these 4 great impediments to our self-improvement. If anyone would want to get the lectures that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan put out, the study guides for self-improvement, you can go on NOI.com or you can go to Amazon or whatever. You can order the book and you can start your own study group. He didn't limit it to the Muslims. He wanted everyone to have these self-improvement to build what? Community development. So you can build your community, but you first have to build yourself up. You have to build your family up. Then you can go to the community because now they can look at your house, which is a clean house now. You're not a wine bibber. You're not an addict. So now they can look at it, that's a clean house, man. I can deal with what he said, you know. First have to clean ourselves up of these impediments that stop us from improving. So I want to cut it off right there. I'll overstay my time, but I hope we was able to get something out of it to carry us to next week. And if I said anything that wasn't right, charge it to me. If I said anything that was right, that credit goes to Allah. Don't go to me. Because only Him can bring words out of us that would inspire men. It's not us. Don't never think that, or I never think that of myself, that I'm that bright or I'm that smart. No, it is our belief in Allah, in our willingness to stay on the right path, to study, that makes our words inspiring to other men and women. So it's like I say, you can anything I said wrong, charge it to me. Anything I said right, charge it to Allah. If you think back in your life, you can remember every bad thing you did. Or somebody say, "Hey man, you remember when you did that good for me when you said, man, I don't even remember that, man. God, wow, man. Man, you bought me a coat, a coat when I didn't have a coat. And you done forgot all about it. Why? Because it comes from the Lord of the world. He put that in you to buy the coat. Because it was a need there. So all good is what I'm trying to say comes from Allah. Any good act you did. I used to work in jails, and the brother said, "Brother, you remember when you brought me the Quran, you brought me the final call?" Honestly, I didn't remember because that was Allah. Brother, you remember when you told me about the lion in the cage on 2,000 by 3,000? I'm like, brother, I don't remember none of that. All that comes from Allah. So, with that being said, go out and do good, and you'll see God coming through you. And never take credit for it. Give credit to Allah. That concludes the khutbah. Assalamu alaikum.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya salat, hayya salat, hayya salat, hayya salat. Kakamat salat, kakamat salat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. آتوني من تلك الرسل خلي ربك وانصر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر الله أكبر. سمع الله حمده ربنا أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد كما صليت وعلى آل محمد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام
Lift it up a little bit. Let somebody see, they see your face because you want to see this part right here. So, I don't know how to lift it up, like to make it stay. What you do? See this part. You're going to see this part of your body. You can't really see your face on the screen. Yeah. See, you can see your face right here. So what I do, how I tighten it up. I should tip it up part. Down a little bit. Like that. I don't make it stay right here. Get it to stay right here, that'll be perfect. You understand? I just see I'm put it right in his face. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to open up with the words of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the merciful. I thank all the ones that came out today at the masjid and the ones that's in the listening audience. I'd like to thank you for tuning in and listening to our Friday Jummah services. I had a few announcements to make, and we'll conclude. First, I would like to say that we ask in charity every week to keep this going, to keep the masjid going. We are outreach masjid. Here, we engage the community in food drives every Saturday. The food pantry is open every Saturday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. here at Masjid An Nasr, 905 East Skagway, Tampa, Florida, zip code 33604. And if you want to help in that effort, help in any program that we have here, our email is going out in the street, hood to hood training every Saturday, every Sunday, I mean. You can go to Building Your Community website and get more information on that. What time, Brother Email?
2 to 4 o'clock on Sunday, and we're going to do Wednesdays and Sundays now. So starting next week, we're doing Friday, Juma, over at South Green.
Okay, okay. So I'll bring him up later, but he says 2 to 4 on Wednesday and Sundays that he does the hood to hood training, getting the youth out and getting them involved. And that's what it's about, engaging our youth to make them better people, better persons, but for humanity. We're dealing with those 4 impediments that I spoke of earlier, but if they don't have any examples on what leadership look like, we cast them away. We look down on them. So to avoid all that, we have to get out there and work with our youth. Here at the Masjid, we have a manhood training class. Every Friday after Juma, they meet here with the youth from the community and give them manhood training classes. So we have to engage our community. So those that want to help, you can go to $Masjid Nasr, that's $MasjidNasr, and you can make a small donation or big donation, whatever Allah puts on your heart, to help this effort. We're getting ready for our turkey drive in November. The food Feeding America is a way that helps us out with our food pantry. They committed to 150 turkeys. And we have other sponsors that's coming in that's going to commit the turkeys. So help us in this effort. It's not about Thanksgiving, it's not about Christmas, but it's about helping the community. They deal with certain holidays, and we'll talk about that at a later time, but we're not concerned about that right now. We're concerned about helping the community. That's what we do here at Masjid An Nasr. So if you have any questions, any concerns, you can reach me at 813-406-1047. We have our Imam here today, Brother Jihad Amos Muhammad. He went outside. I wanted him to say a few words before we close out. Brother Terrell, could you go get him real quick? Just bear with us in the listening audience. We'll get you out of here in a few minutes. Before he comes up, those are one of our efforts in the community, the turkey drive. We do a bike drive for the youth in the community around Christmas. It don't necessarily be on Christmas, but we gave away 50 bikes last year, bicycles, to the youth in the community. And they really enjoyed the bikes. And we want to give away 100 this year. So we ask it for your help, your support out there in the listening audience. Once again, you can go to the Cash App, or you can mail it to the address here, 905 East Skagway, Tampa, Florida, 33604, or you can go to Cash App, $MasjidNasr, one word, and help us out with those 2 magnificent efforts that we do each year. We plan on doing more efforts throughout the year. We donated to another organization this year for the book backpacks. We weren't able to do it here, but we did it at a local restaurant where the children was able to get backpacks. So we donated to that. So our efforts, we put more weight on the bar each week. So each day, each week.
He got a poor call. He said he might have to leave.
Okay. So he's unable, Imam Jihad Amos Muhammad, who I've been filling in for this on the week while he establishes Jumar at the park. He said he's going to be at South Green next Friday. So those who's able to go out to South Green next Friday at 1:30, please engage. It's an old saying: if the mountain won't come to Muhammad, Muhammad go to the mountain. So you may not be able to come to a physical building, but if you're out in the community, you can go to the park and hear the word of God. So that's what we're trying to reach you anywhere that you can be reached with this word. And I leave you as I came in the greeting words of Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Thank you, brother.